Welcome to Equity in Focus. I'm your host, Kevin Huggs. Man, today we are diving into the world of leadership, diversity, and transformation with Theresa Spralling, a visionary leader who has been at the forefront of change in the global telecommunications industry. Theresa, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Kevin. Thanks for the invitation. I'm excited.
So am I. I've been looking forward to this conversation as I do many of the times I get a chance, especially against setting some backdrop of Women's History Month, being able to talk to such an accomplished queen in our community. And I really want the audience to really get to feel the sense of all the things that you have done to help not only, your family, but to help, influence a new generation of leaders and success stories. But before we get started, tell the audience, who's Theresa Spralling?
Oh, I so love you for that question. Who is Theresa Spralling? Wow, I'm going to steal the words of one of my favorite Shaka Khan songs. I am every woman. Okay. I mean it. I mean it. Yes, it's all in me. I can read your thoughts right now.
I love
One
it.
from A to Z. I say that and I smile, and I do mean I am every woman. I have had to be every woman. I would love to say that I came in well prepared. I cut my teeth in corporate America, and it was not so kind. A Black female with a technical background, never having entered the workspace, let alone a very formalized conservative work environment with all these bright ideas. Who is Theresa Spralling? I had to find out who she was, and she evolves every single day. And I'm excited that we're talking now because I'm yet in another transformation mode. I think that's advice that I should have been given over 30 years ago. Who is Theresa Spralling? She's an industry expert, been in telecom for over 30 years. I came into the organization a female engineer, in fact, was the only Black female engineer in my group. And oh my, was that an amazing ride. I learned to allow people to get to know snippets of me while I learned and as fast as I could to understand what was important, not only to myself, to others, but for the overall corporation. Who is Theresa Spralling? She's a mother, a grandmother, a devoted sister. I lost my oldest sister 4 years ago. It feels like yesterday. I lost her to ovarian cancer. And that Bette Midler song, Wings Beneath My Wings, I mean, she was always the one telling me, you can do anything you put your mind to it. I'm that girl. I'm that girl who's bold enough to ask the questions that other folk in the room wanted to ask, but I was courageous enough, or maybe naive enough to ask, but I really genuinely wanted to know the answer. I still practice that today. I don't ask questions just to see how you're going to respond. I'm the woman who, when I ask a question, I really want to know, or there is a curiosity behind it. Who is Theresa Spralling? She is a mentor, a sponsor, an advocate for other women. I firmly believe, Kevin, there is no reason on the planet somebody should not benefit from my work experiences, my life experiences. Why should they go through it the hard way? We have to share our story. So I'm that girl. I'm that girl who will share her story just for the heck of somebody asking. So thanks for asking, Kevin.
No, I really appreciate the in-depthness of the answer because it started me thinking. You're talking about like, the challenges you faced 30 years ago, for example. I know things like equity were foreign terms back then in terms of your a culture of equity. So back then, and even in many instances today, a white male leader, if he gets a cough, a woman's probably going to catch a cold, but a Black woman is probably going to catch pneumonia and some new strand of COVID. How do you navigate recognizing you have to be so much better than everyone else to get half the chances?
Oh man, that my heart saddens just a bit when I hear that even now, and I get that question often because I was hopeful that 20 years ago we would have changed that we would have leveled the playing field such that women and the underserved and other uh, disadvantaged or disenfranchised wouldn't have to do anything but show up and do the job well. But we do, unfortunately, as a woman and as a Black woman, Black and brown continue to have a double tax, and we pay it at the highest premium possible. Mine was, and I thank God for a big mama, Kevin. I'll go ahead. She's sitting right now on my shoulders, along with my sister and my beautiful mother. Um, who are my role models, even from heaven.
Wow.
The idea was you can do anything you can set your mind to it, but we have to know that we do walk into a space where the playing field is unlevel. I personally had that experience coming into engineering. Now I'm this Chi-town girl, happy to get a good paying job when
Right.
the company, and I won't just advertise that company because this experience, people say, oh, that's negative, but I'm sure others are still experiencing this today. Today, 30 years later, we are still paying the double tax, showing up twice as good just to be considered okay.
Yep.
Notice what I said, just to be considered okay. I'll share real quickly my first day experience on my engineering job. Of course, um, my goal was land a good paying job with some good benefits so I could help my mama pay the bills.
Yep. That's right. That's
Quite
right.
frankly, that was the goal. And while I had a 4-year scholarship, I knew that this company offered tuition reimbursement. So I knew either way, that was a win-win. And so when I got the job, I instantly accepted, came on job first day in my navy blue suit that we had to borrow money to buy, a white starch shirt that I starched and ironed myself, a pocket protector with all the mechanical pens I could get my hands on. And let me say, thanks to my brother-in-law, we had a hookup at a printing company, so I had some pretty cool mechanical pens. I step off the elevator, door opens. I see this Willie Nelson looking dude, um, long ponytail, kind of curly hair, scruffy. He had a nice suit jacket on, but he was wearing the baddest cowboy boots and blue jeans that I'd ever seen. And I'm smiling big now, Kevin, but I smiled probably twice as big when I saw, wow, there's someone here to greet me. Who was that? He had a name badge on, and I'll just say it said pretty, Priddy. That was the
Oh,
name.
wow. Okay.
Okay. And I went, oh, okay. And the first words, as I smiled big and happy and excited, he says, we don't want you here. I know, just like your eyes bucked and your mouth dropped, same with my spirit. And I'm
Wow.
looking because now again, my whole family's counting on this job. The first thing I wanted to do, there still is a little Chicago street in me. I wanted to swear, and I
Right.
went, whoa, 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 no, no, maybe that's not good. And then I realized, wow, that stung, that hurt. I thought about crying. No crying in baseball. And
Hmm.
so the only thing I could come up with, Kevin, was, who cares what you think, pretty? And I walked past him. I walked past him
Oh, goodness.
with the arrogance and the confidence of any mother who believes she's fighting for her child and fighting for herself and fighting for the world. That's how I sashayed past pretty.
Wow.
Fast forward, I learned to have. I realized I thought I kept thinking. I came home after that first day thinking, oh my God, I walked into a hornet's nest. These people hate me. They don't want me. They're racist. They're this, they're that. Well, fast forward, not racist at all. I was the only female, the only Black in an organization with 100% of white men. And they knew some change was coming. I represented change that they didn't want to see. It had nothing to do about color. In fact, I will tell you, as the relationship grew, and I made sure they understood that I was there to help, not hinder. And I
Yeah.
didn't want them to do that to me. And so, with that, Kevin, I will say to you, I was invited to this gentleman's daughter's high school graduation. I was the only little chocolate face there, but it goes. Lesson I learned. First lesson I learned. It may not be as bad as you think it is. Just because, it's easy to, that those were, we don't want you here. That's pretty powerful. Well, that has to be racist coming from a white man. Well, this was one of the coolest dudes on the planet. I mean, he loved all people. In fact, to the point he allowed and trusted me to mentor his own daughter. But what I represented at the time was change that the whole organization wasn't ready to come. So I say that double tax, we have to come in with the mindset that things are about to change,
Mhm.
but you have to come in also understanding you must leave a place better than you found it, no matter how difficult. Long story, I was trying to make short, but it's meaningful. I get excited about it even to this day because it forces me to rethink what I think I see. Now,
Mhm.
there have been some times, Kevin, I will not tell you that there were people who did not want this little chocolate face there. And it was for those very narrow minded reasons. But I still came to do a job and I did not let that work pass. I did not let that hinder me. It made me work harder, made things difficult personally and professionally, but I pushed through. And I applaud anybody else who can come in and do just that because that's what women have to go do. We have to push through. Failure is not an option.
It's interesting that you're pointing out all those stories. One of the things that struck me is the idea that this happened in our lifetime. And I don't
Yes.
know how much people really recognize that while we've made some incremental changes, these experiences are very real and still happening. So, what do you say as you look at the industry, particularly engineers, and it's still a dearth of women in particular, and certainly Black women that are allowed in the doors? What do you say? Like, how does it make you feel? And what can we do to start making some substantive change?
Well, I will tell you what I say is, ladies, let's buckle up. There's still more work to do. I will also say, in fact, if you look at the stats, Kevin, there are so many women now because of that anticipated, very difficult track. They're opting not to take in on any STEM related roles at all because there still is the opportunity to be a mother, a wife, a homemaker, all those things. And there's nothing short and easy about that at all. But we're opting out of those, even with the brains to do so, because it's such a difficult road. I say you can have it both ways. I did it. Now, I only ended up having one child because of it. I never felt I could leave my job long enough to go do what other folks did, even though there were those I know and work near who got time off for pets, and I love pets. But at the time, it wasn't like my uncle passing. I had to be back in 3 days on that. But somebody could mourn that a week and get time off, and so I started noticing those little disparages, those differences, those favors for others and faults for me.
Mhm.
And so I started working to just identify what it was and not let it get in my way. And so, what we have to do, ladies, for those who are listening, you just got to know that the world is not fair. And when it's too tough for everybody else, I'm going to say to you all, it should be just right for us. A very good friend and mentor of mine used to say that to me when he saw that they were kicking my butt all over the place. He'd come into my office, close the door, and say, "Hey, when it's too tough for everybody else, it's just right for Theresa Spralling." We have to know that that's a change, that if we want to see it happen, we don't go begging, Mother, may I? We have to come in, Kevin, understanding that we not only have earned a seat at that table, we can run the table, we can clean the table, we can go build another table. But what thing that I'm not seeing that women need to do a lot more of, and that's rise up, lift up. You see another sister out there who's trying to get up, she's looking, then pull her in. That rise up, lift up mentality, that'll change this because as long as we're working together, the organizations, companies, the world knows they need us. They want us. They just don't know what to do with us. So I come in looking to find it a way to make it easier. Again, living by the mantra, leave a place better than I found it. And so when folks start to get me, that I'm not selfishly motivated. I'm not there just to make me look good, but I'm there to make a difference in overall operations or organization, then folks start to slowly but surely let you in. And once you see a crack, kick the door wide open. That's what I say.
I love it. Part of your words reminds me of a book I once read by Sheryl Sandberg called Lean In. And so how do you help women really embrace sort of that attitude of when I walk into a boardroom, I'm supposed to sit at the head. I shouldn't defer, and I'm damn sure not getting coffee.
That's right. That's right. I got to tell you. First thing, let me just say thanks for the shout out for Sheryl Sandberg. I got to meet her. Compliments to a wonderful, wise man, Ralph de la Vega. I led Women of AT&T's employee resource group. Um, at the national level. We grew it from 6,000 members to over 25,000
Wow.
members. It was incredible. And that's volunteerism. That's not a paid gig. That's doing
Exactly.
that in my spare time. But all that to be said, Ralph de la Vega, and I'm going to go ahead and call out his name, he made sure the message was so clear about the work and the value that women contributed in the workplace. He brought Sheryl Sandberg in to talk with us when she was launching her book. So I
Oh,
have an autographed copy over here right now. And in
that's
fact,
fantastic.
I thought when he brought her to meet with Women of AT&T's membership and other folk, I thought he would take lead. He said, "Hey, this is for you. I brought her in for you and your organization." That's leadership. You're going to always find folk out there who really, really want to help. And we have to be in position to tell them how they can help. And so the how for me at the Sheryl Sandberg um, level was, what do you know that we might need to know now? And that was her message: lean in, meaning learn as much as you can, ask many questions, stop apologizing for being there, just go do something. And if they're not doing it for you, you can figure out how to go do it together, but bring others in, lean in, listen. Listen, listen, listen. That's one of those listen lenders where we look like, here we're always asking for permission. Kevin, it's still heartbreaking to know a woman could have 9 things on a job description and go, I don't know if I need to apply
Right.
for that.
Mm-hmm.
Heard this. It's a true statement. Guys can have maybe 4 or 5. They're going for it.
Yep.
They're going for it. Hey, if they get an interview, they get an interview. If they don't, they go for the next opportunity. We have just been groomed in such a way that we box ourselves in. And so that whole lean in, and I got my wings when I had leaders in the industry that would say, "No, Theresa, I don't need you over there. I need you over here." I had several of those black and brown women, and also my white sisters would bring me in and say, "Come on now, here. We aren't going to do that, and here's why." So the lean in is real today. It's been years with Cheryl's launch of that book. It still is relevant today. And if you will, the outcome for me, my key takeaway was there is strength in numbers. And if we sit silently, things will happen all around us without us. But if we speak up and we lean in, we'll get the help we need.
I love that. I asked a state senator in Nevada once, a young woman who had just won and was really doing well. I asked her, I was like, how do brought up the book, and I said, how do you lean in, on your day-to-day, workplace, and how, and share with the audience. And she chastised me saying, and this is a real fear a lot of people have, is I can't afford to risk doing that. What do you say to people who really do genuinely fear for their position, and it's a position that they know they need to keep earning an income, but it's so
Oh,
important for the trajectory to do those, to lean in?
Kevin, the struggle is real, real more so now than ever. I have over 7 years in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. Work that I'm very proud of, work we have done extremely well. We have built things, we have fixed broken things, and you and I both know that the work, the need is still there, and more so, even more so when you look around. regardless as to your political affiliations, this climate is nasty. And so we need to understand how to get along, how to find the good in each of us and build from that. It's not just, in my mind, the right thing to do, Kevin. It's a business imperative. Um, you could have the best team on the planet, and you guys may be doing some awesome work. But if you bring a Theresa Spralling in with a different perspective, you may not change your decision, but you will have bounced enough and aggregated enough, talked enough to know that you have a sound, solid plan by bringing different thinking in, different cultures in. If people would just stop to realize it has zero to do with color and everything to do with output, then we'll stop some of this foolishness and start seeking out those who look different than us, who think differently from us, who are different from us and benefit from it. Understanding that at the end of the day, everybody wants to be valued and respected. And if you can do those two things, you don't have to invite me to dinner.
Right,
But when
right.
I know I show up when I show up in the workplace, you value what I bring to the table. And it's not, you're not limiting me based on what you see, black female who doesn't mind speaking up. So what do I tell people who are afraid? Because there's a lot of risk involved.
Mhm.
Oh, more so now than ever. I get it. As I mentioned to you, the story I told at the top of this call. Um, I mean, I came in knowing that that job meant not just a paycheck for me, but that was my family's survival. So I'm looking at what's happening in this DE&I landscape. There are leaders who have lost their jobs. There are companies who are now saying, I don't even want to talk about diversity. Let's just talk about inclusion. Rather better yet, let's not talk about any of that. Let's just go make some stuff happen. But
Right.
again, I say it does take courage. I say let's not be silly with this. Don't lose your economical power is also
Right.
when you can make decisions and not be worried about where that next dime or dollar is coming from. That's powerful. I just say great leaders find the courage somehow to still do the right thing, regardless as to what risk is involved. That's what makes you a great leader. You understand that the outcome is best for the greater good rather than you being afraid to speak up. But I will say, so it sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I understand those who sit back and go, wait a minute, Teresa, I appreciate you. And I know you're bold and ready to kick in the door and everything, but I'm not going to lose my day job over you.
Right.
I
No,
understand that.
that's fair. And it's a complicated issue, but talk about like the importance of ERGs in terms of improving cultural competence, improving or offering opportunities for collective courage and things
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, I go back to that, Kevin. There's strength in numbers. And so when you find people, here's what I had to learn. And I think I'm talking loud right now. And for your beautiful audience, forgive me. I grew up in a family of five. We've talked loud this way. I mean, that's the way we were heard, and we were all talking at the same time. I've learned to calm down a bit on that.
Black and proud, say it loud.
Yes, yes, you get me. You get me. But the idea is that what I've learned, and I think others will benefit, I've learned when the more serious the matter, the more logical I become.
Mm,
I take emotions out. I found when I was the only female in this engineering environment, what guys were most afraid of, me crying or me showing out or me acting out, me being emotional, as if they're not, okay?
right, right.
If you guys are not, I know you cry. I've had a couple guys cry on my shoulder and it was okay. But
Don't be telling all our secrets.
but what I've learned to do, the more serious the matter, to start to build consensus, ask questions, as opposed to right away digging my heels in the sand, trying to make a right statement. We come in understanding what's right to do, but it's complicated for a lot of people. There are a lot of layers. So I have taken the time, and 30 years will allow you that grace to learn that lesson, to slow your roll, understand what others are thinking and what they're most afraid of, and then be about finding a solution that will whittle that away or minimize those concerns, and then they'll walk with you. That applies to the climate that we're in right now and any other problem solving that opportunities that we might find ourselves in.
Yeah, no, and just continue the thought. One of the things that occurred to me as you were speaking was the importance of, really being in tune with yourself and what your own values are. Dr. Cornel West talks about the Greeks and their use of paideia. And that's just a shifting of the soul, shifting from the superficial to that which matters. So it sounds to me like having a true understanding of your own values has a lot to do with your ability to be courageous in those moments. Can you talk about, like, when you found enough about who you were and were comfortable enough in your own skin to say, this is no longer a risk. This is just something I have no choice. I have to do.
Yeah, I learned early, and I love Cornel West. For oh, that's a bad brother, Dr. Cornel West. I actually, I'm an avid reader. I have one of his autographed books as well. When he first came out on the circuit, I saw that as different. He was brilliant, and I went, oh, it's really cool to be smart and black and outspoken. But if you notice, even to this day, there's a style to it. He finesse it. He's not just out there talking loud and saying nothing. It's one of those you do want to lean in when you listen to him. So the question you posed is I lost track on that one.
So it's really just about, like, when would you realize you knew yourself enough to where you didn't have a choice but to lean in?
Oh, I so love you for that. Thank you. And that's where I was going with that. This brother was so into himself, he knew who he was. I
Mm.
realized that I was losing traction while I show up, and I hope you agree. I know I have presence. I
Yes.
can walk in the room. There's been many times I've been in with a boss and they've mistaken me for the boss. So there's just something about how I show up. People automatically assume that I'm the one running things. But I've learned to do that with grace. And what I found, I spent a lot of time in my work, in my career, um, worrying about how others were going to take me. And I'm pivoting, just trying to figure out, okay, wait a minute, Theresa, until finally I decided this is who I am. This is what I want people to see because this is authentic and this is what I can defend. And I started to realize when I showed up based on my authentic self, true for the end game and for all people, not just black and white and brown and female. It was everybody's concern. People started to get that. I'm reminded of an Eleanor Roosevelt quote. I give her credit for it. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I
Mhm.
started leading with the heart,
Mhm.
HEART. And then I found I got to do the hard work because my leadership trusted me to know that, oh, wait a minute, she's got head and heart. It's
Mhm.
going to work out. So I learned to be myself because for a minute there, and I think it was longer than a minute, longer than the 60-second minute, I was imitating who I thought I should be. When in reality, Kevin, folk really wanted to understand who I was, what my motivations were. And when I started to show up that way, I started to get the support I needed. And then I started to be able to move the needle in the direction that I personally and professionally wanted it to go. So I'm big on being your authentic self. Now, that doesn't mean being as loud and proud and boisterous as you want to be. It means speaking your truth, showing up genuine,
Yep.
no hidden agendas, asking the questions that other folk need to know and you need to know. And oh, by the way, listening and reading the unsaid. I'm big for that. I mean, you can ask me a lot of questions, and after we finish, I'm gonna think about well, what question didn't Kevin ask me?
Of course, yes, yes. And speaking of, we're going to move off the HEART and go into the HARD. And I've got one last question before we get out of here. If you could have a town hall with three important voices for the importance of gender equity to make sure that they understand the challenges that women and Black women in particular face in the workplace, Anybody in current, past, or you could think of, historic or currently alive, what three women would you have sitting on that town hall to convince the rest of the world of the importance of equity among women?
Oh my goodness. It would certainly be my big mama. And
Okay,
big mama is your grandmama who can overrule your mama. I
that's
told you
right.
that earlier.
That's right. That's right.
That woman has wisdom and she didn't have a high school education, but she knew how to treat people. She listened very well. She actually listened twice as hard and spoke half as much. But when she spoke, it made a difference. I would also, in the past, I go back, I think a bad, bad sister was this Harriet Tubman. If
Mm,
you saw her story and how she was intentional about, wait a minute, she knew freedom wasn't free and she was willing to risk it all.
that's
And
right.
by
That's
God,
right.
she found the strength to do it. And then what I would also sit for future would be, the next gen after Gen Zs. I would have a young lady in that mode to tell her the why.
So
I
Gen
would
Alpha.
want, yes,
Okay.
because we are sharing those stories. We're
Mm-hmm.
not sharing them. And how will they learn? They were born with computers in their belly buttons. I get it. But
Mm-hmm.
the wit and the wisdom that we've been talking about on this call is necessary, not just for their survival, but for them to thrive as women and as authentic human beings and to carry this generation to the next level. Humanity is at stake. So I would have those three women sitting there at the table and we would just coffee, tea, or cocktails, whatever is necessary, to just open up and share what's the most important thing. If there was one lesson for us to learn, what that would be, and then dissect that and pass it on to others. That's what I would do. That would be my town hall. And then we would speak probably about 20 minutes and
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the hour town hall 40 minutes open Q&A and we'll answer anything. No question would be off limits. How
I
about
love, I think that's fantastic. I could keep having this conversation forever, but we are up against the clock. So I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. I really feel like the audience benefited from your story and all the lessons that you've learned across your career.
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Kevin. It's been a
Oh,
pleasure.
absolutely. And once again, thank everyone. Thank you in particular for joining us on Equity and Focus. Remember, everyone, leadership is not just about reaching the top. It's about how many people you bring with you on the journey. Keep leading with purpose. And until next time, stay engaged, stay focused, and stay empowered. Thank you.